Hi, welcome to Gamer's Gamut. From news to reviews and discussions, we talk about everything video games. What's going on, everybody? Back again with another video. With Halo fast approaching and Xbox having a pretty exciting holiday this year, I wanted to tell my Xbox story, talk about why I'm looking forward to Halo, and why I'm still excited for the future of Xbox, even though I've been disappointed with them in recent years. I feel like this will also be a good excuse for me to get a little more personal with my videos and allow you all to get to know me a little bit better. If I'm going to be reviewing games, I think it's important to allow people to see where I'm coming from. I think the path you take through video games can be an important part of that equation. For those of you that don't know, my main gaming platform of choice is PlayStation. I really enjoy their big budget AAA games, and I love the Platinum Trophy system as far as completing games goes. So that's where I do most of my gaming these days. This wasn't always the case though. Back in the year 2003, I had been away from gaming for a while, and I found myself standing in a video game store. It had been a few years since I'd played anything at all, so I wanted to see the latest and greatest, catch up on what was new in video games. This was during the days where the differences in console generations were much greater than they are today. Back then, every time we reached a new generation, it was a mind-blowing experience. The leaps in technology were much greater, and it was always a visual treat to upgrade to a next-gen console. So to say I was excited would be an understatement. I asked the clerk which console I should be looking at, and he pointed to a section of the store all decked out in green and black. I walked over to a display model and saw the original Xbox for the first time in my life. This thing looked awesome. The games I saw in the demo kiosk looked amazing. I was sold. I was ready to try something new, so I immediately started to pick out a game. I remember there not being very many to choose from at the time, but I ended up grabbing the original Ghost Recon. I was a big fan of military shooters, so I was happy to see one and was about to purchase my items when the clerk asked me if he could make a suggestion. He said, "If you get this console, you have to get Halo." I could tell by the tone in his voice and by the way his eyes lit up that he really wanted me to get this game. His excitement was contagious, so I just took his word for it and bought Halo as well. I had no idea what was about to happen to me. I had never heard of Halo or even Xbox before. I got home and started my Xbox journey off by playing Ghost Recon. I had a blast and I spent countless hours going through all the missions, trying to stay silent and undetected. I was fully immersed and very impressed. I was even more impressed when I soon discovered Xbox Live. It was the first time I'd ever seen a console have the ability to talk with people online in such an easy, all-in-one package. All of a sudden, an entirely new side of video games was opened up to me. It was a true revelation, and my Ghost Recon addiction intensified. For this reason, Halo sat on the sidelines for a few months. The cover art had failed to grab my attention, and for whatever reason, even the first level aboard the Pillar of Autumn didn't really impress me. But I will never, ever forget the day I first crash landed onto the Halo ring. With that iconic shield power-up sound, I stepped out of the escape pod for the very first time, and what greeted me was the most incredible vista I had ever seen. It was familiar, but mysterious and alien all at the same time. I was standing on another world. I couldn't believe my eyes. Everything about this game seemed tuned to perfection. From the epic campaign, to the controls, to the split-screen multiplayer, Halo had rocked my world. I would go on to have many all-night Halo sessions with both siblings and friends, and before long, Blood Gulch felt like my backyard. They are to this day some of my most cherished gaming memories by far. Halo is single-handedly responsible for turning me into the hardcore gamer that you see today. Never before had I been so caught up in all the details and lore of a video game franchise. I consumed any piece of Halo media that I could get my hands on. From the books to spin-off shows like Red vs. Blue, I couldn't get enough, and I was far from alone. By the time Halo 2 rolled around in 2004, the franchise had become a worldwide phenomenon. Never before had I seen the release of a video game reach the levels of hype that I saw for Halo 2. It was everywhere. At this time, it was common to see big events revolving around console releases, but I had never personally seen events of this scale dedicated to just one game. News anchors were attending midnight release parties around the world, with granddaddy of them all being in Times Square. It was a big deal. Master Chief had become a video game icon. But as awesome as the Chief is, Xbox was more than just Halo. Its exclusive games were impressive. From Jade Empire to KOTOR, the original Xbox is responsible for some of the biggest titles in gaming today. I enjoyed so many great games, it's impossible to list them all. Titles like the Ninja Gaiden Reboot, The Chronicles of Riddick, Need for Speed Underground, and Fable, to name just a few. Microsoft came out guns blazing for their first console generation, and on November 22, 2005, they upped the ante with the release of the Xbox 360. This saw improvements to Xbox Live and the arrival of things like the Xbox Live Arcade and achievements. They were firing on all cylinders, with great titles continuing to roll in. Games like Gears of War, Alan Wake, Halo 3. The 360 had refined the online multiplayer experience and helped to bring online gaming to the mainstream masses. Even their marketing was a cut above the rest. Remember that epic Mad World Gears of War trailer?
Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow.
At this point, Xbox seemed like an unstoppable juggernaut. I was fully on board and invested in the ecosystem. I thought for sure their next console would be even better. Then came May 21st, 2013, the unveiling of the Xbox One. Before they could even get started, Microsoft had killed all of their momentum by announcing that you have to have online check-ins every 24 hours, or that they wouldn't be allowing you to play used titles. This meant no trading in your games. You wouldn't even be allowed to lend them to your friends. It was bad news after bad news, and on top of that, for some strange reason, they decided to focus the majority of their reveal showcase on TV and cable box type functions instead of focusing on the gaming aspect of this new gaming console. To say this didn't go over well is putting it lightly. The backlash was swift and severe. It wouldn't be long before Microsoft was backtracking on most of its key points. It was too little, too late, however. They had lost all their momentum and goodwill in one fell swoop. Even though they stumbled out of the gate, I still stuck with them at first. I pre-ordered my Xbox One in hopes of that they would turn things around and put out awesome games like they had been for the past 2 generations. But unfortunately, Microsoft was never really able to keep my attention with the Xbox One. Aside from a few standout experiences in the beginning like Quantum Break and Rise Son of Rome, for the most part, I was pretty let down. They just weren't releasing games that I was interested in. It almost seemed like the end for Xbox. They were canceling games, they didn't have the levels of funding that they used to have, and for a while there, it was almost as if Microsoft didn't even believe in Xbox. So I made the decision to switch platforms. While I've happily enjoyed my PlayStation since then, I fully believe they have some of the best games on the market today. I've always held out hope that Xbox would one day return to its glory days of new amazing games and franchises. But it wouldn't be until near the end of the Xbox One generation that they would finally begin to turn things around in my eyes. Due to Microsoft's lack of investment in new titles, Xbox would find itself in quite a large hole, a hole that still affects us today. It can take anywhere from 4 to 7 years to develop a quality title, sometimes even longer. So they would have to find other ways to try and keep their customers happy. One of these ways was to focus on services. Services such as Game Pass, the video game equivalent of Netflix. It is widely considered to be one of the best deals in gaming. It changed the industry and the way we look at games almost overnight. If it wasn't for Microsoft's early blunders, there would be no Game Pass. Necessity most definitely is the mother of invention. They were backed into a corner, they had to make a move, and what a move it was. The Xbox of today is a very different beast. It will never be exactly like it was during the golden years. There has been and will continue to be change. But one thing is evident. Gone are the days of no investment. Xbox is trying to show you that they care. You need only look to the purchase of Bethesda for $7.5 billion to see that Microsoft means business. If the recent critically acclaimed releases are anything to judge by, then the future of Xbox is looking bright. If they can extend their recent success to titles other than Halo, Gears, and Forza, we just might see that return to greatness. To some, this holiday season feels like the turning of a new leaf, a return of the big budget, quality games. Personally, I'm just excited to be excited about my Xbox again. I'll be playing Forza and eagerly awaiting the release of Halo Infinite. So let me know down in the comments which future Xbox titles you're looking forward to the most. And do you think this is the beginning of the return of Xbox? Thanks for sticking with me. I hope you liked the video. Until next time, take care of yourself. Watch out for your neighbor. Peace.